Well, hello, Kim.
Good morning, Jill. Morning, everyone.
This is Jill and Kim with One Harmonic Whole. Ooh.
Thanks, everyone, for being here, listening to us. We really appreciate all your love and support. And if you're on like YouTube or some of the other ones, please like, share, follow.
Subscribe, do any of that
Yes.
good stuff. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Be sure to tune in daily for our wonderful short daily messages. And then about twice a month on Saturdays, we publish a little bit longer podcast. Yeah. So this one is Saturday. So happy weekend.
Right away, songs and like weird songs are popping up in my head today. It must be a song today because I hear "Good Morning Vietnam." And I'm like, okay, we're not in Vietnam.
No.
But today's been some weird, random songs, quotes, messages from the past
Yeah.
have been coming up in my head.
80s, 90s.
Yes.
Yeah, because Good Morning Vietnam is a movie with
Yep.
Robin Williams from the 80s, 90s.
Yes.
I'm not that good at that stuff, but yeah. Yeah, so right before we started, we were like, well, what's the topic today?
Mhm.
And I'm going to throw one out there. See what you think about this one, Kim. What do we do when we're pissed off?
Scream, throw things, throw a tantrum, go in my room, cry.
Yeah,
Does that sound like you?
right? It can be pretty intensive. There's so much going on right now.
Yes.
And there often is, I mean, life is busy. Life's got a lot happening. It's just at this moment in history, there's been a shift in presidential power that always shakes things up a little. And there's just a lot of does seem like there's a lot of anger, a lot
Yes.
of pissed offness in the air.
Yep.
And that it's like these things are pinging from the past too. Like things you thought were gone or resolved. It's like, woo, I had one recently and it just went off the charts. Like I didn't, rage or anything to anyone else. Like it was me sitting with it. But inside inside my mind, inside my body, it was intense. Like I could literally like feel my body vibrating, which a body vibrating with anger or rage, it was intense anger, is not fun.
Nope.
So then my reaction anyway, and I think most everyone's is, when something's uncomfortable like that, we kind of as humans want to do anything we can to get out of the
Yes.
discomfort. We do. But yet, a lot of times the way to get out of the discomfort is not necessarily healthy or productive. So a concrete example of what I would do in the past is I would have taken an intense anger like that and just deny it, stuff it down, and store it somewhere in my body. And then that part of my body and awareness of my body, I have to go numb to it because it's painful, it's uncomfortable. You see? You should see Kim here.
You're right. The amount of energy she's throwing off with her voice and just her body language is intense over here. I'm literally twitching and yawning.
And I'm like, this is why I want to bring this up because I'm like shrouding that. That's like about 5% of what's going. And I'm like, and I'm not trying to hold it in or protect others from it. I'm just trying to go in. When I reflect on the past, I didn't deal well with anger or upset. It wasn't like healthy or whatever. And literally, it made me physically ill over time. And I really have done a lot around this, Kim. And so for this recent thing to like come up and be that intense about, I was like, ooh, there's time with other people, find out there's a pattern out there. There's lots of people that are encountering this. And then, you're like sitting there twitching and I'm like, okay, Kim like giving that sour face look right now, like, what is this? And I'm like, okay, take that. What is this? And I'm not, this isn't me being dramatic. I'm just going, take that discomfort and inside of me that's like, tenfold. And inside of me, I'm going, I don't like this.
Yeah. Wow. There's so many messages coming through my head right now, or thoughts and feelings. Redefining your belief systems.
And just to be clear, this is advice for everyone. I'm just bringing this up. I'm not asking Kim to advise me specifically. This is in general.
Yes.
For all of us, right? Yeah, because it's
There, like Jill said, there's a lot of things, and it does not have to be related to the presidential election, does not have to be related to politics per se.
Right.
This is literally things inside of you that part of your convictions, part of those things that like made you angry in the past that you thought you were good with. Oh no, they're coming up and they're being stirred up. And it's about redefining those belief systems. Are you going to choose to continue to participate in that, even though it makes you angry and frustrated? Are you going to continue to go into that? Or you could continue to say, like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up. Why am I so angry about that? Why am I so frustrated? Um, and I mean, I think I handle stuff pretty well. I'm one of those people too that love to stuff and bury things. It's really fun.
Yes.
And then it's even more fun when you have to pull it on out and then it gets sticky and sludgy and oh my gosh, like it just becomes a bigger mess.
Yeah. So it's not
Yeah.
fun.
Right.
We don't recommend that.
So when the things are hitting you, it's literally right now you get a chance to hit things head on.
Oh, wow.
So my thing is actually about insurance companies. And I know this hits a nerve on a lot of people too. So it's not necessarily the presidential stuff, but that can impact the insurance companies going forward. Who knows? We don't know exactly the future. By the way, the future is really never laid out. We're just here, we're participating in it. Your manifestations, your choices every single day can change the outcomes. So as much as say in the past, I used to be able to tune in and get more of a defined, this is what's going to happen in the future. And like, oh my gosh, it exactly happened that way. Da da da. You guys and the world, the planets, everything has created this big, massive shift. So it's kind of a really good thing that we're going into the state of chaos or not even chaos.
It's kind of like we're being put into, to me, it's kind of like we're being put into the present moment.
Yes.
Like we had been telling ourselves and allowed, I'm air quoting, but
Yep.
you know, to tell ourselves that we could say, predict future.
Yep.
And for a long, long time, lots of sages, lots of ancient texts talk about that there is no future.
Yep.
Because the future is a collection of moments that haven't happened yet. You know what I mean? Like it's us, like the way the future happens is okay, we live, you know, today, we live this hour. Okay, but truly it's not there. And so it's like the universe lovingly said to us, you can no longer futurize.
Right.
And to be present right here in the moment.
Yep.
But you can also make up a word. You can no longer pastize. You can no longer go back to the past and pull that. So here we sit with this whole collection of things within us that I think this, whether it's pinging or triggering would be another one, anger or whatever, it's like, it's a clearing.
Yep.
But it's,
So, I don't know. Okay. Here's the other thing. Well, I know there's been a lot of random illnesses that have been coming up. I've been hearing a lot more of cancer on people coming up, like way more than what I've heard in the past. I'm not saying it was caused by something in particular. We're not going into that. And do I know that for sure?
It's just an observation. It's
right,
just
exactly. Yep. So this is more of the illnesses, the diseases, however you want to call it, the mental health, like everything is being stirred up. And that is all related to like internal fear, but anger. Anger is like the biggest thing. And we talked a lot about fear, but right now it's anger that is really coming out of people. So
some people it is moving into rage. And I will say, I would like to throw that out there and just pay really close attention if you're dancing anywhere around the edge of rage, because rage is, it's like
insanity.
That's flags all over the place that you need to take action to tone that down because yes. So
we're not here to harm other people and you're not here to harm yourself.
Right.
It was never designed for you to harm yourself.
All right. I'd like to share a little bit this way. A little bit about why I brought this topic up, because actually the thing that like triggered anger inside of me, I reflected on it. I contained it within myself. I didn't bury it. I contained it. I owned it. This is mine. This is my reaction. Okay. This was how I like worked through it, if you will, process through it. And I was like, okay, I don't like this. But then I started doing what a lot of us do, which are scenarios. There are a few fantasies about how you're going to release the anger. And that usually involves blaming someone else.
Yep.
or
Yep.
yelling at them or ending something or whatever that is. So I did those. And then all of a sudden, Kim, I hit this scenario. It wasn't even so much a fantasy because it was real calm and real quiet and it caught my attention. And it was like, nope, I'm not doing that anymore. It was just no, I'm not doing that anymore. There was no anger, no angst, no nothing. It was very almost light, but it was very, very powerful too. It's kind of difficult for me to put it into words. I can tell you're picking up on that vibration. Then that got like pushed aside, and then all the other wild craziness surfaced again, and it's been building until we are recording this podcast, which didn't make any sense to me because I was like, okay, I literally have my solution.
Yep.
And then the solution didn't become the primary vibration. The primary vibration became a growing anger. And finally I was like, what is going on with this anger? And it's because we needed to dive more into it today.
Yep.
But I found a really peaceful, unusual response, meaning it's an unusual response that I hadn't used in the past. And it's not necessarily a response I would have envisioned myself using in the future either. It was very much like right here, I'm like, oh, I mean, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get from that?
When people actually just stop and be, we've talked about this too.
Yeah.
When they just stop and be, they actually get that message. But when you're clouded in so much anger and you're not even allowing yourself to even be in the moment, like, oh, that part actually like you feel that anger and that frustration. So the fact that you were able to get that message, you're able to be in the energy of the anger, which is actually a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, because you're giving it acknowledgement. You're not stuffing and burying it. You're saying, hey, I see you. I honor you. Okay. Anger is never, it only goes bad when it turns into the rage and you start then attacking other people. That's when anger turns a negative way. Anger can be neither good nor bad. It can just be. So anger is just, it's an emotion. Okay. How are you going to react? So the fact that you took that, say, anger, and you're able to actually just stop and take a deep breath, whatever, and hear the message, get the message, and you're like, oh my gosh, well, it can't be that simple. It can't be that easy.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well, it took me a long time. I will say it took me a long time to get to the message.
Yep.
It was a lot of discomfort, but the discomfort is more me judging it.
Yeah.
So we do, and this is what I think our listeners, I would venture there's people that are also probably shaking their head right now going, yeah,
Yep.
when I feel anger or an emotion I don't like,
Yeah.
it's when we put all the judgment in there that it's like it amps it up. It amps up like the pain with it or something.
Yeah.
The discomfort turns into pain or something. It's just
Yep.
really wild.
I have to throw this out there. Okay. Interesting. So when I'm getting empathic people, if you recognize that you are trying to, what's the right word? There's form of judgment in there. There's some self-judgment going on, but justify that person's behavior. Okay. There we go. Say I recognize something and I'm angry at a person because they didn't do something right. Say then, I mean,
Yeah.
who knows what it is.
Yeah.
They didn't do something right per the rules or policies in that particular situation. Okay. And they're trying to get away with it. And then all of a sudden I'm angry and I'm pissed off. But then all of a sudden, empathic people, what you will do, this is a little bit of self-sabotaging and it creates you to bury things, is you will literally stop and look at them and you start having care. I look at it as care and compassion for that other person. And you start trying to figure out why they did that situation or justifying their actions. Well, maybe they did it because they're having a hard time in life. Well, maybe they did it because of this. And which can be a very helpful thing. But what it's doing is it's diverting the attention off of you and you're putting it onto somebody else, your anger. It sounds weird, but this is what I see empathic people doing. And then later on, they're like, oh, man, I'm hurt by this. Like I have this problem and I don't know why. And it's like, well, because you kind of gave away your anger power. That's a weird way to put it. You gave away your anger power to then somebody else. In essence.
Yeah, I would say empathics, but also people pleasers.
Yes. Yeah.
And I would say absolutely I did that in the past. And not the difference of what I did recently. That's where I said I like contained it.
Yeah.
What I mean by contained is it's like a little bubble around me. It's my own. I own this. It's very uncomfortable, but I didn't hand that off to someone else.
Yep.
I held it, and it's a process to become to learn the skills of how to deal with intensive,
Yep.
uncomfortable emotions that we tend to judge and avoid. It's also exceedingly human to want to
Yeah.
avoid discomfort.
Oh, it is.
So,
And
if
we
you're
want to always be in the love and the care and the compassion, but you can't be in love, care, and compassion if you don't experience the other. Like you have to be in a place of just being able to feel anger.
I heard a definition recently about of compassion that I thought was fantastic, that it's having passion for all aspects of life,
Yeah.
which would include the emotions we don't love,
Yep.
like that we judge as bad or difficult. And so that's the compassion, is like passion for it all, including this. And I'm like, oh, that's not so easy to want to have passion for my anger. That's
Right.
even kind of confusing, right?
Yep.
But like you said, Kim, when we can have literal like passion for it, going, okay, here's this thing that's happening.
Yep.
And it's mine. And it's like here in front of me. It's full of, there's lots of power in there. And instead, we have so many of us, through whether it's being empathetic or people pleasers
Yep.
or a myriad of other ways, have taken that very powerful thing, because it's uncomfortable, but it's very powerful. And it's like me taking this and going, here, Kim, you take this.
Yep. Yep. Scenario, if you're at a restaurant and the waiter didn't do something, you asked for something, and you're like, man, she didn't do it right. A people pleaser or an empathic person will be like, oh, they're just super busy. Like, it's fine. Just let them be. That's you stuffing and burying your anger, your frustration. Okay. So what you can do, instead of getting angry, like maybe somebody else on your table is just like, oh, I can't believe that. They should know better, and blah, blah, blah. And you're over there trying to justify their actions. They're like, no. Both of you need to stop and just say, okay, when she comes over to the table, or call her over and say, hey, like, this is not right. And you do that with care, love, and compassion. Because yes, they are probably overwhelmed. They got 50 things on their mind, just like you do, just like I do, Jill does. Everybody has a lot of things going in their mind. And we are human. We do all make little mistakes. But it's okay to actually tell somebody like, hey, I want a lemon in my water. And they'll be like, oh, I am so sorry. And there's genuineness, there's care and compassion with that, instead of being like sitting there with your arms crossed and then like just waiting, like, oh, I wanted lemon in my water, you know?
And I think it's a process, because what you just described to me, Kim, is like almost the end game, where I call it communicating without barbs.
Yeah.
Barbed wire fences, it's taking the barbs out, where you can say to the person, whatever
Yes.
thing is, and you're not sending your energy toward them
Nope.
to harm them or whatever, but you're also peaceful within yourself. You're not sending those barbs within to harm yourself.
Yep.
But it can take practice to get there, because these difficult emotions, I'll call them that, we tend to label them as difficult emotions. Anger is typically, for most people, difficult, are also very powerful. So it can take a while to get to where you can say, like, you might just say, hey, I wanted lemon in my water. I would want to swear a few times.
Yep.
Like, that might be where you're at. You might do that. Then you need to not have the barbs in it later on, when you are laying in bed reflecting on that, going,
Yes.
oh gosh, that was really over the top. I took my anger and my frustration out on someone else.
Yeah.
And then you just go, okay, all right. It's a process of learning how to contain that experience within yourself and not have barbs going out to the other person or into you.
Yep.
It's a skill, but
it's a skill, but it's a practice every single day. Like, it's all the time. That is work. A job is not work. Work is like on yourself.
managing yourself.
Oh,
Right.
that's every single day, like constantly all day long. And people do get tired of being with themselves. Maybe they don't like themselves for whatever reason. They start judging themselves. And like, you think if you were at a job and you're constantly judging the job,
It's,
you get burnt out.
it wears on you.
It's the same thing if you're constantly judging yourself or putting on, stuffing and burying it. you get sick, you get tired, your body just cannot function because it can't.
I would suggest you create a toolbox of things you can do when it's just gotten too intensive, right?
Yeah.
It's too much. Like I'm sitting there, say, and before we started this, I was
Yeah.
like, Kim, we got to talk about anger
Yeah.
because like this is getting intense. Like if I was at home by myself having this much anger bubble up, I'd have to have a set of tools, like go-to things to try. And I actually do have a little toolbox. Because at that point, I literally need a break from myself right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of value in taking a break from yourself. That's not denial. That's saying I'm going to bracket this for the moment and go and take care of myself to refill my tank. So I have a fullness in me to revisit this anger again, or this near rage, or resentment, or whatever that very powerful emotion.
And with that, there are tons and tons and tons and tons of resources that you can do. I would say if you're a person, based off your personality, if you're a person who likes to say, run away from your problems, then physically run. Okay. So it's almost like you're going to meet like meets like. Okay. If you're a person who likes to just sit with something, like you want to sit and you want to fester, you don't want to do anything, you just want to let it sit in your brain and fester, then go sit and do something like watch a movie that's getting your brain to not even think about it. So you're disconnecting your brain. Sometimes even gaming systems can help. But all of this stuff, like you wouldn't think of watching movies as a good thing. You wouldn't think of playing games as a good thing. Oh, but you want to justify that running's a really good thing. Running can also cause harm in the body.
Yeah, there's no judgment on it. You pick your tools.
Yep. So
but you have to make a
it.
deal with yourself that you're going to come back to this.
Yes.
You're not denying it and you're not distracting yourself from it. You're taking I love to call it bracketing it. Putting brackets around it.
Yep.
But when you're done with whatever you choose, including gaming or whatever it is, you're going to remove those brackets and revisit.
Yes. Yep. And then look at it then from a different angle, different perspective. You were able to calm down your nervous system. So that's why you went and ran, you watched a movie. Maybe you drank a glass of tea. Maybe you're a person who needs fuel. Like this is fuel. Oh, interesting. Maybe this is causing like fuel to the fire. Like you're going and you're just like, cool, now throwing daggers out everywhere. You're adding fuel to the fire. Okay. Look at food.
Yeah.
To fuel you, to calm you down.
Food, water.
Yes.
Putting water on the fire. Water works very well for me. Showers.
Yes.
I've been known to take epic showers sometimes. And I'm just like in there thanking Mother Earth for all of the water as it just keeps like washing.
Yeah. Using your signs, your astrological signs too. I'm an earth. So to me, going outside and touching the trees, touching the plants, herbs, being outside in the nature, earthing is going to be more beneficial for me than saying somebody who is a water sign or somebody who is a fire sign. If there's a fire sign, then they actually maybe want to play with fire, go outside and actually create a bonfire or a little outside fire going on.
Safely.
Yes. Yes. Yep. There's or they can watch on I'm seeing like YouTube pulling up a fire scene that's more calming, relaxing fire scene in the background that's just calming music. The other thing I hear, music. We all know music.
Well, we just talked about a daily recently about music.
Yep.
And songs.
There are so many ways. So many ways. But I would say you have to go with what your personality is, because if you're not a like runner away from things, if you're more like you like to sit with it, and now I'm telling you to go run, that's going to create more anger and frustration.
Right. So have it match with your personality, your type. But I'm getting this vision, Kim, of it's very funny. This thing occurs and anger, like intense anger arises. And it's like I see wires. Okay?
Oh.
It's going like wires. So like whether it's a run or a shower or whatever, it's literally disrupting. It's like cutting that wire.
Mm-hmm.
It's not denying it. It's just cutting it and saying, nope, we're going to stop that right here. If you don't stop it, which is what happened, we brought up this conversation, those wires kept getting more and more complicated, and to the point where they were starting, I could feel them just like all over me, where I was getting like tied up in them. And now the anger was starting to be, if you will, like in control of me.
Yes.
Rather than me as the director of my life, the anger was starting to direct my life.
Yeah.
So it's like taking a wire cutter.
Yep.
Cut that. Oh, okay. Well, I tried to shower that, cut one wire, but it's still too intense. What's the next thing that I can do?
Yep.
You know, it was like next thing. Sometimes it's a few minutes, sometimes it's a few hours, sometimes it's a few days. Rarely, but on occasion, I suppose it's a few weeks.
Yep.
What do you get?
If things are lasting, I'm not quite sure the time frame, but they're showing me if you're sitting with the emotion and you're doing the things to calm down your body and you're coming back to the emotion and it's still not changing, that it now turns really physical. So you may need to then really attack things physically. So you may feel the aches and pains in your body. Um, it's that one thing, if you can catch the anger, the emotional anger, and you can move through it, move it through your body, move it through your mind, and create a sense of peace with it. You didn't create a change, you're creating a sense of peace. That doesn't resort into the physical body. Okay. It's not locked into the physical. But if you let that go on for like days, even a day, sometimes it doesn't even take that long, where it's hitting you on the physical side, you're like, whoa, I thought I was doing great. And then it shifts to the physical. Sometimes the body actually needs to clear things out physically too. So if it gets to the physical where you're in some pain, aches, whatever it is, a lot of times we want to get more angry. And you want to say, I thought I was doing everything right. I was drinking this tea, I was running, I was taking my shower.
I tried everything.
Yeah. And it's like sometimes you've locked the same energy, a belief system. It's a vibration. You've locked that energy vibration in your system a long time ago, so it was already stuffed and buried. And now you're at a point where you're like, oh, now I'm going to deal with this. Now I'm going to actually like bring this up to the surface. Guess what? Physically, it's got to come out from that cell. So there's a vibration that comes out from your inside of your body and it's going to come out. So you may physically feel that. They're like, keep doing the work, keep doing it. Once you run and go get, say, medications for the pain, sometimes that's stuffing and burying it, where other time people actually need the physical support
Yeah.
to be able to deal with the mental. So each person is individual. So I can't say, go shower's going to be great for you. Running's going to be great.
You really have to decide for yourself.
Yep.
And have some people call it a self-care program. Self-care has been a little overused though, where it's like, what I mean by that, Kim, is self-care can become a means to distract and deny things where they don't, the bracketing, they don't come back. So make sure your self-care plan, if you want to call it that, has you coming back to it. Because eventually I think, like for me, the ultimate thing that I want to be able to do is to sit with this emotion, this powerful anger emotion, and sit with it and be, as you said, be with it.
Yep.
And eventually, when I can get to that and I'm not reacting to it, I'm not feeling it, I'm being with it. Eventually, I've done this many times in my life, so I know this. Eventually, you feel it, it does dissipate.
Yeah.
You feel it within your very being. You feel it dissipate mentally. You feel the emotion of it dissipate. You also feel the physical vibration move out. And it's like it moves into a stillness. Because very calm, very peaceful. When you've gotten to that space, now you know, as you said, Kim, the work, now you know my work here is done.
Yep.
For that particular one.
Yes. Yep. Yep. And I would say the more people, no, not even that. It's like once you realize you have the power to change this stuff, you are going to recognize a whole lot more things within yourself that you're judging, that you're having pain associated with it. And things start coming. And I want to say congratulations, because you have just opened up Pandora's box. You have opened up yourself to true healing. So don't run away from it. kind of embrace it, embrace your own power in that sense and be like, oh, okay, well, what's the next then? What's the next? I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm in this vibration. I know now I can do this.
Mm-hmm. It's a falling in love with challenges, and I have a lot of fallen in love yet to do with challenges.
And I'm like, okay, how can I have fun with this?
That is fascinating about Kim. She does that with challenges. She is literally fascinated by them and has fun with them and plays with them. And talking about anger, even some, conversation touching on a bit of rage, this kind of thing. Like, this isn't necessarily a fun, upbeat topic. But you know what? If you can learn to play with it like Kim does, it actually does become,
Right.
what would you call it?
Entertaining.
Entertaining. That's a good, it becomes
So like,
entertaining.
if I recognize that I'm actually getting angry about something, and when I recognize it, I actually start laughing in my own head at myself. And I start calling myself out on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing, Kim? Like, you're just allowing them so much of your power. Like, just stop. And then I literally start laughing and I keep laughing in my head. I'm like, okay, we got to change this up. So for me, it's a lot of the mental. I get into my brain and I start talking to myself. And then it's like I could feel my whole body. Like, I didn't realize how tense it was actually getting over it. And I was already starting to store it before I even know it.
So let me ask you this, because this is incredible to me. I've heard you say you get into your brain.
Yeah.
I would have a challenge with laughing at myself. It's not that I can't laugh at myself, that's how serious I get. And now you're laughing. So I'm laughing because you're laughing. And I'm like, I need to learn that. Where did you learn to laugh at yourself? Lovingly laugh at yourself, because you're not going, oh, Kim, you're so,
Right.
you're not insulting yourself. You're
No.
just literally going, you're bringing levity to it, bringing lightness to it. You're like aerating it.
Honestly,
It's not so serious.
what I was actually called out on laughing about situations that were very serious.
Oh, like inappropriately laughing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So I was called out on that. And it wasn't that they were like super inappropriate, but some really close friends noticed that when I would talk about being angry or frustrated with things, I would laugh. And they're like, you're really good at just disrupting the energy. And you just laughed. So then I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Disrupting the energy.
Yep.
Nice.
But I also noticed when I did that, I was trying to not hold it in. It was a coping mechanism. And it was actually not a good coping mechanism in using it that way. So then I asked, well, I need to laugh. Like, that made me feel good. It shifted energy.
It gave you a sense of relief.
But I was laughing like outwards at this situation.
Right.
And I still realized I was judging it. So then I don't know how it started shifting, but I caught myself inadvertently laughing at the situation. So I'd stop myself right then and there.
So you were laughing out
loud
towards something.
Yep.
Okay.
So I recognize it, so I'd stop it instantly. And I would get in my head and I'd start judging myself in my head. And so somehow I was able to flip it in my head and be like, this is how you laugh. You laugh inside here. And it's like you're laughing at yourself, but yet you're not laughing at yourself as a negative thing. You're just more like, okay, this is how you appropriately laugh and shift the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Not outwards towards something else, which diminished that power or diminished the ideas or concepts that somebody else might have had.
Well, it diminished it in a way. It's like it deflected it or something, but the people who were receiving it weren't necessarily enjoying it.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it was like, it's projecting. It's putting your stuff on other people is what you, and we all do that. Like when we put our stuff on other people, we tend to do that because it brings us some relief.
Yep.
But when you're the one who has someone putting their stuff on you, it doesn't give you relief. It's very uncomfortable. And it's not like same as a challenging emotion uncomfortable. It's more like, you don't do that to me.
Yep.
So you stopped doing that.
Yep.
And then took it and did it inside. And you do also talk a lot about your brain. You go into your brain, which fascinates me. She literally goes into the left and the right side of her brain.
Yep.
she goes inside so much that she's acutely aware of what side of the brain she's in. She talks back and forth. Is that correct? Am I reflecting back to you what I've heard?
Yep. And it's fun. I don't know. When you can get inside your own head, that's when you can create change.
Well, you seem to get inside your head first and then go to your body.
Yeah, because the body's yelling at me, and I want to ignore the body.
So the body's yelling at you.
Yeah.
You ignore the body for the moment and go into your brain.
Yeah, and then I start asking questions in the brain. And I'm like,
so
okay,
you're
why
not
is it
denying
yelling?
the body. You're
Right.
just your entry point to play with this is your brain.
Yep. And it used to be the body where, I have a physical, my knee hurts.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're focused so much on that knee, and the knee had actually, I mean, there was a whole lot more story than just the knee.
By the time it's in your knee, physically manifested. So there's a whole backstory that's in the brain.
Yep.
And probably then, we'll call it in the brain. That's its own conversation.
Yep.
But we'll leave it as in the brain right now. Because I've actually sat here and witnessed Kim having this back and forth, lifted ping pong. It's like watching a tennis match sometimes. It's so fun. But you play, I love you had said you disrupt the energy.
Yep. Yep. And
I think that's like the key takeaway with anger. That's what, is that like summarize it.
Yeah.
Summarizes it. That's the come up with, is it a run? You're disrupting the energy.
Yep.
You're not denying it. You're not projecting it. You're disrupting it.
Yep.
As I called it, bracketing it, but I love disrupting better. To come back to it later when it doesn't have power over you, but you're the most powerful and can play with it. Then you play with it. You are literally entertained.
Because now it's like, how did you create that? Like, wow, you must have been pretty flippin' talented to create this knee pain. Like, what did you do? So that's like the conversations in my head. As to, I know I create everything. We all create our own stories, our own disruptions, our own anger. We create it. No one else is creating it for us.
Yeah, there's a big level of ownership in this.
So when I'm in my head, I start just talking, asking questions. So if I was like sitting down with a blunt therapist who was literally calling me out on my stuff, that's what I get in my head. And then sometimes I actually get like the poor me in the head too. And then the other side saying, knock it off. Like, no, really look at this, face this. But it's work. And I will admit there are times in the past where I still will wanting to go back to not have to deal with the stuff.
Yeah. You're, though, in a way, literally in relationship with yourself, like actively in relationship with yourself.
Huh.
Yep. You have conversation, right?
Yeah.
You're like, how can I be in relationship with myself? And it's
Yes.
like, it's when I say in relationship with yourself, you're in relationship with your with your mind.
Yeah.
You're in relationship to your body. You're having communication, conversation. You're curious about it. You're playing with it. You're disrupting it. Yeah. You're like, it's within you. And I think that's the thing. When we said the future stuff a while ago, we talked about the future and,
The future of wellness today.
Right? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We make wellness today.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna let that. I'm just fascinated by your brain conversations. And we're gonna have to talk more about that another time. We really are.
Yes. But for right now,
For now, a few closing thoughts.
the pain, the anger that you are experiencing right now, it's valid. I will tell you that right now. It is valid.
Yep.
So don't run away from it. Don't stuff it or bury it. But please stop projecting on other people.
Disrupt it.
Yep.
Disrupt it in some way until you can manage it inside of you.
Yep.
Yeah. Stop projecting on other people.
Our world will collapse. And I'm being very honest on this one. There can be a very, very huge, great divide when people continue on the path of anger right now that they're on.
Mm-hmm.
So
really important. Yeah. Yeah. It's really important. Like we've tried to even bring as much levity to this conversation as we can.
Yeah.
It still got kind of serious. It didn't get near as serious as the truth of the matter is. It's deep. Like the biggest thing I believe anyone can do right now is to disrupt that energy when you're projecting any intensive emotion onto someone else.
Yep.
Disrupt it. Is intensive emotion a good
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And accurate is what I mean.
Yeah. I like that. Oh,
All right.
okay.
Any final closing thoughts?
I heard, no, ma'am.
No, ma'am. There we are. There we are. Go disrupt that energy. Take care of yourself. Have a conversation in your brain.
Yeah.
Seek out help if you need it. Definitely. When you're saying don't project on people, we're not saying don't get help. Definitely get help if you need
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
When you need it.
Yeah.
Take that run. Play those games.
Mhm.
But do your work.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Kim and Jill. One harmonical.
Until next time.